Hi everyone. I just wanted to make a short video about something that has been on my heart. I feel like if there's something that's been on my heart, maybe sometimes it's worth sharing. So I hope that you find this worthwhile, worth your couple minutes of time here. But there's been something that has been on my heart for a few days, and it's something that I've thought about honestly quite frequently throughout my entire life, but lately it's been sitting on me a little bit heavy. And I remember when, after walking through a lot of trauma when I was much younger, I remember asking God this question. And I'd ask him it more than once, of course, and it was, why? Why, God? Why would you allow these things to happen to me? I don't understand. And I didn't understand as a young girl because when I was 3 years old, I was diagnosed with an incurable blood disease. They put me in the hospital, put me in a padded crib, and they were very afraid that I would hemorrhage to death. And they never started any treatment plans because they were trying to figure out how to treat me exactly. And they were running a lot of tests. And I was living in the hospital as a 3-year-old, and my parents would come in, of course, and visit. And I can remember that crib. I remember the whitish crib with the pads all around it. I remember the window in the room. It's really weird how I remember that. And I also remember one night having a vision and literally seeing Jesus right before me. I just saw him in his white robe and a gold belt. That's what I remember seeing. And I remember hearing his voice. And he told me that everything would be all right. And that very night, my parents were in the chapel praying throughout the whole night, praying for me. And they came in the next morning to visit me. And when they came in my little 3-year-old way of telling them, I told them that I saw Jesus and he said that everything was going to be all right. I don't think they knew what to think. They just kind of looked at each other and trying to process what I'm saying. They probably thought, oh, that's cute, she had a dream. And later on that day, after running multitude of tests, my doctor came in and said they didn't understand what they were looking at. But for the first time, all of my blood test results were normal. And the doctor said he has no explanation for it other than this is a miracle. So when that happened to me when I was young, I felt really, really close to the Lord. And I remember being a kid in church, raising my hands and worshiping. I would witness as a young girl. I'd knock on people's doors and tell them about Jesus and heaven and all those things. So when my parents divorced when I was 11, my mom remarried a pedophile. And then I got moved into a pastor's home where I was abused. So I was abused twice, well, many times, but by 2 different people. When I finally got out of that pastor's home and got out on my own, I remember asking God, why? Why would you allow this to happen? And I was kind of stuck there for a while. But after I started to receive some healing, I remember the question changed. And it was no longer why. Why would you allow this, God? To what now? What do you have for me now? And that's just something that I think is a great question for you all to ask as well. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know the pain you're going through, but I want to encourage you to go to God and to ask him, what now? What do you have for me now? What can I do with this heartache? What can I do with this pain? God, how can I turn this into something good? And you know that if you will go to him and ask that question, he'll answer you. And I know that because he has for me. And that's why this podcast came about. It came about through a conversation my husband and I had where he was asking me, what do you think God has for you next? And then it went into me saying, I don't know, to me praying about it and then feeling like God was saying, it's time. It's time to share your life testimony with others. And when I really believed that he was telling me that, I thought, what better way to do this and reach as many people than starting a YouTube channel or coming out and telling the truth of my life on social media, because you can reach so many people. And that's how this podcast started. So I want you to do the same. Why don't you go to God and ask him, what now? And I promise you, he will answer you. Just keep asking in faith, what now? So this week I'm going to be sharing a short testimony about my first marriage. And I'm going to talk about what kind of happened throughout that marriage and why it ended in divorce. And then I'm going to talk to you about a lot of the pain that happened throughout that marriage, and not just with myself, but my children. And unfortunately, a little less than 2 years from my husband and I divorcing, he took his life. And You guys, this has been the hardest portion of my testimony to share. It was really, really hard for me to make this video because it's still very raw. It's still very real. It's been less than 4 years, and we are all still very broken about it. So pray with me as I let this video come out to the public, because I've wanted to do it with great care and respect, considering, how everything ended with him. But I can say this: forgiveness is such a gift. He and I were able to forgive each other after we were divorced. And it's so beautiful to have forgiveness, especially in this situation where, unfortunately, he ended up taking his life. I knew that I had forgiven him, and he knew that I forgave him, and I knew that he forgave me. And that's why I talk so much about forgiveness, because forgiveness is a gift to yourself, really. Because once you forgive, you're no longer chained to that person. You're no longer chained to those circumstances, to that pain. You can release it and give it to God, and you'll know that God will take care of things for you. He's your great defender. So bear with me as I share this next video. It'll probably come out Wednesday. Pray about it if you think about it. And it's been hard to share. And let me say it again. I want to encourage you to go to God and ask him, what now? What do you have for me now? Because that's what I'm doing. You guys are watching me live this kind of live, like live TV almost, living out me asking God that question, and then me obeying what I felt like he told me to do. I had no idea what would come out of this podcast, this YouTube channel. No idea. I was just obedient. And I had 5 women in one day yesterday thank me for coming forward and for sharing my testimony. It's been incredible, you guys. And then lastly, pray, because tomorrow morning I'm meeting with 2 other victims who were victimized by the same pastor that I was, and I'll be speaking with them. And I just want to listen, and pray that God gives me the words to say to them, to encourage them. So again, before I end, with whatever pain, with whatever's going on in your life, why don't you go to God and ask him, what now? What do you have for me now? What can I do with this pain? What can I do with these issues, God, that can bring you glory? And he'll answer you. Thanks for listening. Watch for my next video. You can find me on YouTube at In Her Words. And if you can, subscribe. That way you'll get notifications of all my new videos, because I hop on there once in a while with new videos. So thank you so much for your time. God bless.